Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Justin Masterson Show. I'm your host, Justin Masterson, but it's not just me hanging out. I got my guy, Matthew Zappasodi. What's up, Zappo?
What's up? Happy morning to you.
It is a happy morning, and welcome to the random people who found me because I put some things on social media.
Oh, we're actually on social media now?
I mean, we were there before. It's still
didn't use it.
You know what? That's actually we're just going to dive right into that. It's all part of it.
Okay.
The start of it's all part of it. I got kind of two today because the first one is thinking social media. Like I don't care about social media. I have no desire. But as you well know, I just got, we're doing this cool little Zoho thing in order to like use the socials.
Oh yeah.
I know I'm giving my tips and tricks out there. So
social creator or something. Yeah.
Yeah, and so it's neat because everything's all in one place and I get to see. But I also don't. Got the Facebook thingy and I sent something out. I was like, hey, I'm back on Facebook and welcome. And you got people responding, which is great. People I haven't talked to or whatever. And I tried to like all their things, which I'm probably not going to be able to do because like social media, I don't
look at it.
I don't look at it. I don't really want to. I don't really care about it. But I also want to encourage people and hopefully draw them to this show and other things that we like. That are coming and impactful and helping out, families, marriages, individuals. So I'm in there. So really, it's a true. It's all part of it, man.
It's like a love, hate, love. Oh, hate, love.
You and I talk about this way too much.
I know. We could probably have a show just on how much we love, hate social media.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we talk about you could find somebody to do those things for you, but then you have to pay somebody.
Yeah.
And I don't really want to pay somebody to do it.
Bottom line is, though, go to whatever page he's got linked and like us, and we'll like you back, or whatever how you're supposed to tweet. And
yeah, like something on Facebook. Go to Instagram and like the post that maybe comes, or X, or what else. LinkedIn's there, but I didn't actually post anything on LinkedIn.
But I guess the point is, like, we're on YouTube, but not everybody's on YouTube. So that's kind of the point. We're trying to show others where we are.
And then I tell people like, oh, I got some cool stuff coming up. And then it's like, well, it's really just my show that's coming up. That's cool. So watch the show.
Well, maybe there are things coming up.
No, there are actually. Okay. I mean, we've talked about.
Don't tell them. Yeah, don't tell them. No. Golly. That was close.
You ain't lying. Here's the other one.
It's all part of it. Brought to you by Justin Masterson.
I was waiting for that. I got to record that. We got to get that recorded.
Okay. Studio
so we can keep doing it. Perfect. Clip. Yes. But we have a clip coming up right here, and I'll just talk you through it. This is it's all part of it for parenting. If you don't notice, that's my wonderful wife whose back has been hurting her, and yet she wanted to be at the bus stop with the kids, and so she's just sitting on the ground, just
waiting for the bus.
Just waiting for the bus with the kids, but sitting down eases the back pain, and not only does she not like the cold, because she's bundled up, she's got her heated gloves on, but is willing to sacrifice to be out there, and if that's not it's all part of it, of parenting.
And just shows her true colors in there. Way to go, Meryl.
Oh, absolutely.
Did the kid like it, or did the kid not even notice?
Oh, the kids love it.
Okay.
There's like, Dad's filming you.
She's like, I better get up.
No, she actually didn't care. I think the bus had just got there at that moment, so she got out to say, I love you, and see you later. Nice. So it's another it's all part of it.
It's all part of it.
Right. You know that, parenting.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, so many stories. I mean, I do like the substitute teacher tales, and we have like 14 segments, but the 15th might be parenting stories brought to you by.
Yeah. Well, maybe into this week, I'm doing some substitute teaching, so I need to pay attention, and I might be able to have a substitute teacher tale or so. Or just bring some teacher tales. Mm-hmm. I just need to interview some teachers and let them tell some of their funny stories, because I think that's always going to be fun. I just got to do it. That's it. Okay. By the time, go do it.
Write this down.
Yeah, write it down so I don't forget.
Teacher.
But we're in we're in the series, more or less, where we're going over this article where it's called "What Husbands Wish Their Wives Knew About Men." And before we continue that, we finally somebody responded.
Oh, Masty at the Justin Masterson Show.live.
Yes, and I will say I did at one point in time earlier get an email from Coach Cherry many moons ago on It's All Part of It story, but it doesn't count. And I'm not going to put the who this next guy is, but we are thankful someone sent it in. A large shirt is coming your way.
Large shirt, let me write that down. Large.
Of course, he's connected to us, so he can either pick it up from UZAP or
I know where he lives,
or we can send it to his address. However, we'd like to do that, but we're going to make sure that happens. So I'll read email he sent. It's like, "Hey guys, love the show and especially the topic. What we as men want our wives to know about us. I've been married to my high school sweetheart for almost 33 years. We've raised 3 wonderful children and have 1 granddaughter. It's not been an easy road, and many of our struggles were from especially my, lack of communicating expectations." This is really interesting. Like he's teaching me right here. I appreciate this. This is what it is. Testimonies of how life has been. "I grew up with a mother who stayed at home until we were all in school, and she was the homemaker mom. She did all the cooking, the cleaning, the shopping, the laundry. She was the taxi. So I guess that's what I was expecting from my wife. But I never really gave my wife a chance to meet these unexpressed expectations because 1, we never discussed them, and 2, I just took them over. So if things didn't get done in time, when I wanted or the way I wanted, I did them myself, which isn't always bad. But I was harboring resentment toward her for this. So when I did share my frustrations, it was typically a passive-aggressive response like, well, if I didn't have to do everything. And this led to a lot of hard years and unproductive days/nights. So there's much more to the story, but I can say by God's grace and forgiveness that we've gotten much better at communicating our expectations and our needs with one another. There are things I'm strong at that she's not, and vice versa. And we try to acknowledge each other for the things we do for one another. And if there's something that bothers me, I kindly and respectfully explain my position and allow her to respond. And she does the same. So it's not about saying this is your job, this is my job. It's our responsibility to our commitment to one another and to God to honor one another with the vows we made. Man, it's hard growing up in a society of I'll love you as long as you do this for me. We need to love because God loves us. I especially should not expect anyone to meet expectations I never communicate to them or meet my needs because I forgot, left late, ate too much, didn't clean up after myself, or didn't do the assignment. My unpreparedness doesn't equal anyone else's responsibility. Anyway, keep up the great work. It's all part of it. But it can be awesome if we allow it to be.
The big expectation word.
Yeah, man.
Love it.
Expectations, lack of communication.
Yeah.
The maturity bit where it's like I just didn't talk about it. I harbored the resentment and then I exploded. And then even hit on why it's all part of it from the last time, which was like, why do we blame people when we're running late? It's always like if we didn't finish it or we didn't do well enough or we didn't do this, it's always we're blame. And in the end, it was always our fault. But it is. This is all part of it. So if you feel like if you're in a marriage, hopefully this is an encouragement to you that you're not the only one who's struggling, having these type of things. If you're not, if you're single, hey, this is great to think about. When you're in relationship with people, and we'll hit on maybe that a little bit today. I don't know, but appreciate you. Thanks for writing in. If anybody else got something, enjoying something in their life, you have a note that can teach, please.
It's all part of it. No, I'm just kidding.
No, the email address.
I know. I only have so many pre things I can pull. Masty at the Justin Masterson Show.live and get a free t-shirt. Unbelievable.
It's perfect. So we got this week, we have a husband needs his wife's perspective. And so it says, he doesn't oh no, I didn't get to my camera. There we go. Even though I'm not directly looking at the camera, but kind of am. Here we go. He doesn't see 360 degrees. He needs the benefit of your intuition and your insights. He needs you to share your perspective with him humbly and respectfully. And he doesn't need your harsh, hard judgment or criticism of his failures or mistakes. A husband needs his wife's perspective. Bam. Now, my first bit comes in. We're gonna break it down.
Okay.
And it's he doesn't see 360 degrees.
Fact.
I mean, it's a fact, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we can't see it all, but the first thing that gets me, okay, there's something about marriage, and I don't know, this could cause trouble, it could not.
We like that.
But the idea that the man is the head of the household.
Okay.
Okay, I know you got people, patriarchy, whatever. Okay, man is the head of the household. I can appreciate that and see that. There's some culture to it. But this is the problem that comes in my head, is that we see this, or when I hear this, when I see it done, it's like, hey, I'm the head, you got to do what I tell you to do. And so it gives me this concept that in many of these relationships, marriages, dating, the man just goes, well, I'm the head, so you're going to do what I say. A man saying, I asked for your perspective, but in the end, I don't really want it because I'm going to do whatever I want to do because that's the way that it is, because it's my call, and I don't really care what you say in the end. Now, I get it. You know, historically the case is women are the weaker vessel, but it never says they are the lesser vessel. And so my thought and take on this is that when I'm reading through Scripture, which is a highlight that shows me a lot of the way things are done, and I see relationships going on, and so I see, you know, God the Father interacting with God the Son and the Holy Spirit, and there's this different roles, yet they come together and figure out how to get things done. You know, so many people, and nowadays they want to put hierarchy, as in like, well, the Father tells the Son, and then the Son tells the Holy Spirit. But there's moments when the Spirit's talking to the Father, and the Spirit's leading the Son out. And if you do a deep dive, like they're leading each other at different spots, and they're coming together in order to make things known. And yet they still have different things that they do well, but they also overlap in some of these ways. And then I look at the way the early church worked. You know, it was not, you know, that's the one person that leads us and tell everyone what to do. It was they came together and they talked about it. And if someone wasn't in, then they didn't do it until they continued to talk about it. And then either someone saw their perspective or was like, hey, we need to go about this a different way because that's not working. And if that's our examples of the way things work, like why wouldn't we also then take that into the marriage world, where this is not just an ego trip of authority, but it's two people coming together, it says, as one, and trying to navigate this incredible life as they come together as one, and then they approach.
Well, we're specifically talking about husband and wife here, right?
Yeah.
We're not talking about work.
No, not
employee,
work.
Employer, president, vice president, head of cabinet. We're talking about a unified party, sanctified under God's provision in marriage, right?
Yes.
Okay. So that difference maker is really key to keep at the front of mind, because so many times we try to relate a parent to son or daughter, a employer-boss relationship to an employee, even an upper management employee.
Yeah.
But then we take that application and we roll it into the marriage. You can even say, and take a positive interaction, like the head pastor at a church or the bishop or whatever your denomination is, but the person in charge then saying, hey, here's the situation. We need to make some decisions coming up, whether that's sermon topics, whether that's building expansion, whatever the thing on the table is. How are we going to do children's ministry? Okay. But you're asking subordinates in that relationship, but who has the ultimate, say? Someone has a dictatorship upper role.
Right.
And we want to apply that logic to marriage. And so should there be an upper and a lower vote amongst the two? And I guess you could say, well, it's situational. Well, maybe you could go there and say, well, specifically in auto maintenance, I am going to have the upper vote. We can get granular in these things, like take a women's specialty, and when we're talking about that topic, like she has the upper vote. Hey, I'm leaning on. But then when it comes to like just normal, how to raise the kids in discipline, well, it's my way because I'm the dad, I'm the father, I'm the leader. And it's like, well, you're kind of applying wrong logic to the same situation. So if we're one though, okay, so let me back up. You said head of household, and actually our IRS even uses that term, which is kind of interesting, but it is okay to have a head of household and it be the man. There's nothing wrong with that thing. But don't then justify the dictatorship relationship of choice and of freedom and of decision making because you're the head of household. You're not the president of the United States in your house. Someone has to show the leadership role in all things household. Okay, that's fine. Your name is written there, guy, dude. It doesn't mean you're any more valuable or have better opinion just because you're there. It's like a positional versus versus what's the other
role
versus role. Yeah,
right. You're playing a role.
It's okay, even if you're not ready for the role. Someone's got to take the role, and that could be you. But how many marriages out there listening right now that either are in or know of when the wife has to step up and supersede because the guy isn't producing? Whether that's spiritual, whether that's money, making, job, whether it's how to raise the kids, discipline the kids, cook, whatever the situation is in the household, that the woman is superseding, not because she wants to, because she has to, because the guy's not stepping up. Doesn't mean he needs to take over and do it all. No, we'll get to that later. But I just wanted to clarify that one point before I go down more rabbit trails, that head is actually okay to be, but we are not an employer-employee relationship in a marriage. If you're unified correctly, it's a one relationship.
Right. There's no ownership. In some cultures, you'll see that it's like, we're in this, now I own you.
Oh.
And it's like, well, no, actually you're in this together. So we're trying to come together to make decisions, to fill the gaps of where we are, to know the things that if I struggle in one thing and someone else does it better, then yeah. I mean, a lot of times what happens, we think that the one who makes the money, this is where Marilyn and I try and get her at. She'll be like, everyone thank Dad. He made all the money. I'm like, babe, this is our money. Like, yeah, I might have been the one who put the hand to the plow over here, but you're the one has to make up for whatever I couldn't do at that moment in time. And if you put it in reverse, where she was the one who was out doing that and I had to take care of these, how come the way it seems culturally we decide who has the power is who makes the money? Mm-hmm. Now, you see where people who have money can do certain things, but you would think in a relationship that you got, it's like, whoa, we're in this together, and now we're trying to do it. And I know about, well, someone could be mooching off of somebody else. It's like, no, if you're truly, so that this is the next part. Who knows if I'm going to be saying all the things I was going to say about other parts now? I don't know, but we have these gaps. So I don't see 360. I don't see everything. Like you notice it here where Zapp and I are talking. He's doing a good job of describing the things that I was talking about with assumptions. And he's like, I'm not going to let them assume this. I'm going to actually describe it for them. so that they can come along with me so that my brain understands it well. And then I already know you understand it, Justin, but I'm just reminding you what is out there. It's like, oh yeah, this is perfect. This is exactly what we need, because I don't see it all. And yet I'm humble enough to listen and not be like, well, of course, Zap, that's what I was trying to say, man.
Yeah.
Like, you didn't hear that, people? Or in the sense of it where, you get into this, the Bible will talk about submission. Wives, submit to your husbands. And we love it. And we love to sit there, right?
Yeah.
But then we don't go to the next bit where it's like, husbands, die to yourself just as Christ died for the church. And I think of that when we continue on, it's like, okay, there's a submission here because it's speaking a language that, like, okay, we can relate to this culturally there in a sense. And then to the men, we're saying, no, you have to be willing to give up all of you. And there's this really interesting perspective that I don't know if it correlates so much, but I was listening to a podcast and they're talking about the story of Lot. And many of you may not know it, but like there's a story of Lot where these angels come in, it's Sodom and Gomorrah, if you've ever heard it, with these people, foreigners come in, it's like angels in disguise, and he invites them into the household. And then these men want to come in and like from the city and want to do like not good things to them.
Yeah,
and,
hurt them.
Right? And so Lot's like, no, you're not going to. Take my daughter instead. And of course, we're like, what in the world? Why would you even, like, what is going on here? So, and learning about the culture that was set up, it was such a hospitality style of culture that they were willing to give up whoever it was in their own family to sacrifice. Woo, getting all excited over here. The sacrifice for the foreigners that were there, because that was deeply embedded in the culture that they were. And it's like, well, why didn't like Lot just give himself up? And it was so interesting because if Lot were to give himself up, then that would be like death to everyone who he was there to protect. But I say this because I don't know if it correlates, Zap. You'll be able to tell me if it speaks into your ears. But like in this type of relational capacity, we are being asked as men to then die to all of ourselves, to lay down, to sacrifice for our family, which would be kind of the opposite of what it says, because then that potentially leads to like what? I have now laid it down. Who's going to protect our family? Well, it's going to be God, who's at the center of it all, and the two of us coming together. Whew. I don't know if that made sense to you, but boy, whew.
So when God calls men to sacrifice and to die to self for their bride, then in return or in the same time, in sequence, the woman is submitting, not do sometimes what is that, the cart before the horse thing? Mm-hmm. So sometimes it is the woman submitting and then the man dying to self. But if they happen sequentially and the man is dying to self and putting her first, doesn't she recognize and then submit to that man out of worthiness? And I say this to our Fight Club guys, women, like your husband may not have been and may not be worthy, but still don't you owe him the respect he deserves as the positional role God put him in? And if you only bash and nag, which you got to go back 2 episodes to listen to that, why would he change? Because he is recognizing you don't find value and worthiness in him. But if you give him the respect, even if you don't want to, cart before the horse, and then he gets around some godly men and spiritually in tune with what God's telling him, die to self, don't put yourself above her. Oof, now you've got some things happening where my fingers, I was using analogies, can't really do. But the Pashtun people in Afghanistan are the same hospitality that you were describing that Lot has. I didn't know that connection, but in some of my military books I read about, they will protect their visitors even if it costs them their livelihood, because it's ingrained. When they say, come into my home, they will protect you at all costs, even death.
Yes.
That's something we don't really have in America. We're like, no, Americans first. Like, get out of here. So that's interesting. We're not going to get into the immigration and the politics around that. But that example is really key, how you tie that in.
But it gives, and this is a total side note because it's not really what we're talking about, but Zapp and I were talking about it a little bit this morning. It made me think of that. So that hospitality, which, those people, the Pashtus, I don't know if they love God or not, but culturally, historically, they come from a clan
Correct.
that once did. And so it's interesting to see, like, if we live out in certain ways, then that shows that we're a part of a kingdom. And for us, in a kingdom that God is the head of it. And so it's not me, the head, it's God who is the Lord of all things. So even if I'm trying to be this type of king, it's like, no, I'm here. And what do we do? Like, it hurt. If we can outserve each other, if there's submission and there's sacrifice, then wow, we have a loop of just incredible things that are happening. And we need people. So let's say he needs the benefit of your intuition and insights. I mean, this right here is just saying the value of the people that are around you. So if you're not married, like, you weren't meant to do this alone. You were meant to be with people to do this life, because you can't see it all. Someone's got, were we talking about this? Someone's got your back?
Always,
and then,
no.
Okay, well, there's something else. But it was like, you got to have at least one more, because then you got someone to watch your back. And then if you got a third, it's even stronger. A cord of three. And so now you got three wrapped around, being able to see all the angles.
Three Musketeers. I mean, they had it right.
Yes, they did.
I don't have sound effect for swords. Put that in after.
Okay,
so
go ahead.
What you talked about, the other person having things that the one doesn't have that the other does have. Mm-hmm. So why do you even need someone to watch your back? Well, because that's an example that they are seeing something that you can't see, right? So it's just the idea that if you married yourself, you'd be miserable. Like, well, I love myself. Of course I would not be miserable. No, it's like you would be miserable, like deathly miserable. You'd probably kill both of yourselves. Because one
just
kills
not
the
good,
other, and we don't. But what attracted?
Theoretical there.
Yeah, I know. What attracted you to the other person is the fact that they had things you didn't have.
Yeah.
Like, not only gender, but like they think differently, they dress differently. You're attracted to them physically, sure, but there's like whole mental things in their brain that you don't even have and think about. So instead of now 5, 10 years, 15 years into your marriage, being like, oh, they're so difficult. You can never see it the way I see it. Like you should be laughing if this is stuff that you hear in your own head and say out loud, because it's like, dude, that's why you married her. Like, you were attracted to her because she was so different than you. Celebrate the differences, but then like team up. And I know you're going there. I got to stop. But
no, it's okay. I'll go into it.
Okay.
One of the things that we need to start doing is to stop, which is never good when you're just saying stop, because we don't want to stop some things. But we are so good at getting stuck on the negatives that we need to stop keeping record of wrongs. Because that's what happens. It just sticks in our brain. You just made mention of it, all these things that somebody does, and we need to start keeping records of rights. I mean, I love that there'd be no records at all, but people are going to keep something. And it's not to keep the rights. It's not to keep your own rights. It's to keep the rights that someone else is doing. Because when we keep our own rights, it's actually us keeping a record of wrongs. Because it's like, well, I did this, and so what are you going to do about it? It's like, no, they've done this, and they've done this. And it's not because I need to do this because I need to, because I owe it to them. It's like, no, man, they just to see it as this person cares about me. And you might be like, well, they never do anything good for me. Well, I bet if you started trying to keep records of rights, you could see little tidbits here and there. Little tidbits. And if you were to encourage them along the way, I bet you might see those. And that's for male and female alike. Doesn't matter which. We both seem to be wired that way, of the negative just want to stick in. It just happens that men keep it in a little bit longer, and then let it come out, and women will just let it go or tell every single one of their friends.
And if you really are keeping score the right way in a unified marriage, in a sacrificial marriage, when your spouse does let you down, the score went negative for you. It wasn't you went up on them.
Yeah.
Like when they hurt, you hurt. When you have a great day at work, they celebrate with you. Like those are the differences where it's just dying to self. It's nothing magical. Like you can do this in the little things and the big things, but like if someone's hurting, don't you want to hurt with them, not rub their face in it? Then if that's natural empathy, then why don't we do that when someone just makes a mistake? Like I made a mistake and you immediately want to beat that over my head versus like, well, then I've made a mistake with you because we're one person. And that difference really helps put into perspective. We don't have a lot of, I love this, keeping records of right and positivity, but I'm going to need your positivity because my positivity ain't boosting that high. Like my negative keeps outweighing my positive. So I'm going to need yours to come over.
I'm beating myself up enough that I don't need you to come in and do it too.
Yeah.
But that's, so, you know, the idea of trying to stay out of enemy mode, I think I made mention of once before. It's going to come up again. But enemy mode, when we get into it, is this idea that I'm not listening, but I want to win. And so for me to win, it's either me winning or you losing. It doesn't really matter which. And so that's the perspective that we take. And to get out of enemy mode, if we're not in it and we're in the mode that, you know, you're talking about, Zap, is it's this concept of what's the best result where all of us win.
Yeah.
Where it can work for all of us. But then it also comes back to, as I was thinking about it, a thought that I meant to say earlier was, as we're, you know, submitting and sacrificing and we're making decisions together, the head usually wants to go, well, okay, heard it all. We're unsure. Do what you think is right. Well, I'm going to do this. And usually the response is always the head wants to take the answer and roll with it. But I would challenge us to see how many times that we can sacrifice our own opinion to be like, you know what? I can see let's do that. Why don't we try that? That sounds great. Which doesn't usually happen in the world that I see. Because we get these two, I'm going to put these last two bits that he said together because they kind of flow together. He needs you to share your perspective with him humbly and respectfully, and doesn't need your harsh, hard judgment or criticism of his failures or mistakes.
Remember, they're your mistakes too, then.
That's exactly what they
learn
are.
from them, grow from them.
And that's what's hard. And I think I was watching, it might have been like Penelope Cruz, actress, whatever. She was on a video and she was comparing somebody saying something poor, like cursing at her or whatever. She's like, if I just act like it's a different language that I don't understand, then it has no value. It's like if you don't know German and someone comes talking German to you, well, you might think they're always mad, but that's just Germans. But it's not, but you don't know any different, so you have no clue what they're saying. We were in India, and the guy was like, man, if I actually knew what these people were saying, I might have been a little bit more emotional. Might have been harder, but I had no clue what they were saying. I was just there. And they're going, and I know they're probably saying something good because I know the questions that are being asked. But if we can in ourselves just go like, that's not the language they speak. I know that's not right, so that's not it. Like that helps us on the fact of like, yeah, I'm asking you to not be harsh and harsh judgment or criticism of my failures, but how can I also work to change my perspective of the way the stuff is coming in, that I don't process it the same way so that it doesn't hit as hard, where I can take the judgment away and hear and be like, oh, yeah, she says I'm an idiot. Huh. Yeah, I probably am. But the word doesn't have the power. It's the message behind, okay, what were we trying to get at? Oh, man, I did make a mistake there. I should have done better. Why does she keep piling on and piling on and piling on and piling on? Well, because it's the 15th mistake that you've made. And I'm not saying that's the right way to handle those things, but back to where we were talking before, like handle your business one time. Like step up and do the things that need to be done in order to get them done, even when it's hard. Like this sacrificial thing that I was talking about at the beginning of us, this overall concept in my head of this entire thing is just if we men and women too, but men could die to ourselves, to our aspirations, to our egos, to any type of desire, then things will just be so much more incredible. And that doesn't mean you still don't have goals and things that you might try and pursue, but they don't come first. It's how can I make my wife successful? How can I make this person successful? While all the while still having what I want to do, and it might be the thing that it gets renewed, where it's no longer if I pursue something that is just for my own gain, but it's like my wife was like, hey, why don't we go try this? I'm like, really? Well, let's go do it. And collectively, we're able to do it together. Like, I don't know. What are you hearing, Zap?
No, it's good, man. Collective, together, one. These are the things I'm hearing. 360 degrees is a full circle, right?
Yes, it is.
If you don't got it,
people.
then you need help. And so quit trying to act like you got it. I mean, no matter who, women or men. I know this is what husbands wish their wives knew about them, but I feel like we got our own better spin to this title. Some good meat, man. It's good stuff. And you know what's really cool? So we talk about Fight Club and this men's ministry we do, and one of our mantras, our main foundational theme is there's always a chance for a new beginning. And this was the story of this guy, Nehemiah, that we study. But in the end, if you don't live up to this lifestyle or you don't know how to do this stuff, like there's still a chance for a new beginning. Like just be humble and start somewhere. Start living this way, the way you want to live. And I always think about, like, you know those voices in your head that tell you can't do stuff? It's like, who is that in your head? Like, it's like, is that you? Well, I guess it's me. Like, I don't know the guy, but he's in my head. It's like, why is there someone else in my head telling me I can't do stuff? It's like, how do you deal with this?
It's me.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm the problem, it's me.
But what if your voice was actually the one coming out of your lips and not the one up in here? You know, like, say those things and see if they make sense to your spouse. Hey, I've been thinking about this. Like, just say it. And when you say it, I guarantee you're going to realize, like, yeah, I don't really believe that. I don't really believe all of that I was thinking. And then she will either be like, yeah, that was a weird thought, or she'll be like, no, I think it's a little bit like this. Because she's seeing things from a different perspective. You're boxed up. Get out of your head. And I think sometimes you just need to literally say things out loud to see if you really believe them. So yeah, I believe that there is hope for a new beginning. And that was the point. If you don't think that there is a chance to rekindle your marriage, to live like we're describing with a oneness, to actually treat each other with respect and service, how would you say outserve each other?
Yeah.
I believe that there is a chance for a new beginning, and I'm saying quit listening to that voice in your head and start. That's what I got.
And this ain't easy. Like all these things we put out, it's not easy. It's a journey and a battle for us. I mean, half the battle is, it's neat. Like, I think I'm really smart, but I've been able to be humble enough to listen for what I don't know. Because I want people to be, just telling a high school team this, I want you to be confident in what you know, but I want you to be humble enough to listen for the things that you don't. And my wife, she'll be like, I'm not very smart, but she'll be saying some things. I'll be like, ooh, I didn't think about it that way. Or, yeah, you're an incredible gift giver, and I didn't think that I should probably have responded to this person when they did this. Like, that makes total sense. Like, I wasn't trying to be disrespectful. It just never crossed my mind that that's the way things need to get done. And there's some other cultural references and other things that come along. And what's really neat is when you do get to a point when you're able to grow together with the people around you, and you just see it. Like, I'll give a shout out. We're not actually technically growing together, but it's a pitching sense. like my guy Bob Loy, his son Braden, we did some pitching lessons in the fall, and dude has some athleticism, and he's a lefty, and he's doing some really good things. But I was challenging him. There's a lot that needed to be done. And Bob just sent me some videos of him, like he's like putting some work in. And I looked at him and was like, man, is he perfect? No. But he has gone so much further than he was when I saw him. And it wasn't just my direct hand, but it's just so cool. Like when you see things of like going together and like encouraging someone, and then them trusting it and going like, all right, I'm going to try and implement that in the same way. And then, you're in your group and like, I'm with my wife, I'm with my kids, and you see these things. It's like, oh, I would have responded like this, but I didn't. Oh, okay. Or look at my wife. Typically, actually, she usually calls herself out. Usually I would have done this, but I didn't. And I get better at going like, hey, great job, babe. I'm proud of you. Good job. And it's just, it's a fun journey, when those things are able to come together. So we appreciate that you're showing up, you're listening to our bantering. Whether you love Jesus or not, it's still beneficial, the principles that come along the way. And we would hope that you would see the beauty of who he is and how it would be life-changing for you too. But if you are in the area, please put on your calendars. Next Fight Club round, March 14th.
Yes, sir.
11:30 p.m. probably.
Yes, sir.
So come on out, hang out with us.
We'll be there.
Yes, we will.
FC414.club.
Boom. Masty at the Justin Masterson Show.live. Love y'all. Thanks for being here.